Well, welcome to the Pulse of Spokane. Kent Adams here. And this is going to be a fun show. Let me give you a little history. You may recall the 1974 World's Fair. I think we were the first or second smallest city, well, in history, second, I guess now, but at that time, the smallest city in the world to hold a World's Fair. I came to town in 1976, 2 years later, and worked for the Chamber of Commerce. I'll tell you, within 2 weeks, all I really knew about was that we had something spectacular 2 years before. And look what it's done. And it's created a beautiful park that's been updated after 40 some years and so forth. It's the centerpiece of downtown. People who come to Spokane love it. They talk about it. They want to come here, hold conventions here, and so forth because of downtown and Riverfront Park. There was something that had to be done. We had the railroad tracks going through what is now Riverfront Park, and there was a train station, and we all know about the, what is it called? The
Clock Tower?
The clock
the clock tower.
As part
I wanted
of
to call it a flag tower. That's still there. And there's a story behind how that was saved. And we're going to talk to our next guest about that right after this.
The economy is getting stronger, banks are lending again, and interest rates are at historic lows. Now is a great time to buy your dream home. The caring and knowledgeable professionals at Homes for You have been helping people just like you for over 20 years. They take the time to listen to what you want and will help you find just the right home in Washington or Idaho. Real estate is what we do at Homes for You, 928-5782, or visit online at homes4uspokane.com.
This is River Ridge Frame Shop, called Frame It Today, where we can take your art, customize it, and get it ready to hang on the wall. Here at River Ridge Hardware, 2803 West Garland.
Contact us today to learn how PowerView automation makes everyday living effortless.
Weather in the inland Northwest can wear you down. And if your gutters are in poor condition or you do not have gutters, you could suffer damage that could cost a fortune to fix. Rainman Seamless Rain Gutters has almost 30 years of professional experience in serving the inland Northwest region and strives to ensure customer service that is second to none, from the time you call to the end of the project.
Welcome back. I'm pleased to have an old friend. Am I allowed to say that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Jerry Quinn. You're getting up there in age, right? We don't want to talk about how old.
You used to be my friend.
You still have the comebacks. Things haven't changed, have they? Yeah.
Not much.
And then there's a daughter here, Bonnie Quinn Clausen.
That's right.
And I think at least once I've received an email from you or a text message, Kent, and then you say things because your husband's name is Kent.
That's right.
Yeah, and I go, I don't think you meant this text for this Kent.
Well,
so Kent is not a common name.
No.
You know, Jerry, John, Tim, those are common names. Yeah. And Bonnie, you run Quinn now, don't
That's
you?
right.
Yeah.
It was my father's agency
Yes.
that he started in 1969.
Wow.
So I am second generation
Okay.
of the oldest advertising agency in the Inland Northwest, which is kind of cool.
That is fun.
Actually, it doesn't happen very often
No.
where a son or daughter has the kind of passion that the parent had
Yeah.
to run a high service, a lot of work,
Yeah.
a lot of passion. You got to have the skill
Yeah.
to maintain it.
And the long hours. And
Long hours.
And you got a great staff, too.
Amazing.
That really makes a difference, doesn't
Amazing.
it?
Yep.
Yeah. Good
100%.
people. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about your dad and the, I think, unknown until just the other day. For me, I thought I knew all that I could know about Riverfront Park and the World's Fair. But I did, and of course, the clock tower there, the beautiful clock tower. We've even done programs underneath the clock tower and so forth. That was going away. That was part of the station and the clock tower that were going to go away to make room for the World's Fair. You objected to that. You and a couple of friends objected to that.
Well, first of all, I kind of resent it being called a clock tower. It's the Great Northern Tower.
Okay.
It turned into the clock tower, so the railroad history is diminished greatly by calling it the clock tower.
Okay.
As a
See,
generic.
I've already learned something, right?
There you go.
We're not going to say clock
So-
tower anymore,
Yeah.
are we, Bonnie?
I'm okay with clock tower. But anyway.
It's fine now, but it lost its railroad heritage by calling
Yeah.
it that.
Yeah.
That would be my point.
Yeah.
Let me start off by saying this wasn't a crazy idea of mine to try and save the railroad stations. First of all, there's two of them. There's a Great Northern station with the tower, and there's a Union station on Trent Avenue.
Okay.
Two stations. In the plan called Detailed Plans for Development of the Spokane River, proposed by the Spokane City Planning Commission in 1969, was the saving of the Great Northern and Union stations as part of their plan.
Now, was
And
that
I-
the beginning of
This
getting
is-
ready for the World's Fair?
This goes to an election they had for called the Riverfront Park Plan. They voted on it. Riverfront Park Plan got 57.5% favorable vote. They needed 60 for the money, so it failed.
Yes.
That was with the stations.
Right.
Somehow, Sylvan Fullwiler and the rest of the city council decided to sell the idea of the expo idea and changed it to the B&O tax, which they didn't need citizen approval from. It's something that the city council was able to do, and they went to B&O
Right.
and took the stations out of the plan. That's where I get involved.
Yeah.
As president or vice president, whichever I was at the time of the National Railway Historic Society Inland Empire chapter, I was asked to go down and talk to Sylvan Fullwiler about why the stations are out of the plan.
Did he know you were coming?
Oh, yeah, I had the
So
appointment.
he was prepared.
He was prepared. So I asked Mr. Fullwiler why the stations were taken out, and he says, well, for one thing, Mr. Quinn, the boilers are wore out, and it'd be very expensive to replace. I humbly thanked him for that and bowed my way out of his room and went back and told my people that. And they says, what are you talking about? Well, Union Station is heated by the Washington Water Power Steam Plant. It doesn't have boilers. So you immediately start off with a lie, and that kind of irritated me.
Oh, can't imagine.
So it started the Save Our Stations campaign to try and change the minds of the city council.
Right.
We had Margaret Leonard was on our side.
Okay.
She helped me greatly in
Great.
preparing the form. So we started a petition. We got our 15,000 signatures or whatever the number was, and we presented it to the city council. And my little daughter was there at the time when we went to them.
Do you remember it all?
I remember weird stuff as a kid.
Yeah.
So may have
Well,
been there.
Your dad. I
Yeah.
mean, that's going to happen
Well,
a lot.
people don't normally march on City Hall very often, and I did. And I was nervous talking to the hierarchy of
Oh, yeah.
the city, and it gave me 6 years in Toastmasters to make up for that, so I didn't become shy anymore like I am not today.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of it. We tried to sell it on the points of historic preservation of the stations. I was in favor of Expo. It wasn't an anti-Expo thing. I wanted the stations to be in the
part of
park.
it. Yes.
And I consider if the Great Northern got saved, I would have considered it the center of the park in a park-like setting where you'd have major events, someplace to go during the winter time, the rainy time, the cold days. You could have a place where events could occur in a park-like setting, which we have today.
You saw it as an asset.
What do you? Right now, we have an 8-month park.
Yeah.
Nobody goes down there during wintertime because there's nothing to do, and you just walk around, I guess, if you wanted to do
Well,
that.
no, you can take your grandkids down there and ice skate like Larry Stanley did years ago and break your arm.
Okay, and then they moved it. They made a nice little ice skating rink.
Right.
But it originally in the teepee. That's what it really was.
Right.
A teepee with a fabric coating on it when it was new. It had a white
The pavilion
look.
tent.
The
Yeah, it
pavilion
still did
tent,
in 1976 when I came to town.
which they did a wonderful job
Rip.
with the lights now. The lights really make it,
That is-
enhanced it.
I like that.
Yeah, I
It's
did
nice.
too.
So regarding the train station, Jerry, my dad, saw it as a beautiful building, which it was, as most train stations are, with wood carving, marble floors, the kind of.
In a historic value of 1901, 1902 when it was built.
Yep.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. They did things really well back then. The
Yeah.
craftsmanship is like unmatched to what we could do today, or what we choose to do today.
Right.
And so there was a beautiful historical building, and for whatever reason, there was a desire to get rid of it. And it really doesn't make sense in today's day. I mean, as I understand, wasn't there another campaign on the East Coast that was...
While I was trying to save the Spokane stations, there was a lady on TV talking about saving the Grand Central station in New York City. You remember who it was?
No.
Jacqueline Kennedy
Okay.
was saying the same thing I was on a national level that I was saying on a local level.
In which city? Which city?
New York?
Was it New York?
Yeah, Grand Central Station
Grand
in New
Central.
York City
So obviously...
was going to be torn down.
Yeah.
They already gotten Penn Station was torn down. Now they were talking about putting in Grand Central, and something diminished, and that proved to be not possible to tear it down.
So Jackie Kennedy proved
Jacqueline
to be,
Kennedy proved it.
proved to be a good spokesperson.
Yeah.
I remember getting a phone call, talk about wokeism. We had it back then too. Mr. Quinn, I get a phone call. Are you the one trying to save the railroad stations? I said, yes, I am. Well, how long have you lived here, Mr. Quinn? Well, I've been here 5 years. His response was, who the F do you think you are? Blah, 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 blah. Click. I didn't have a chance to respond. But I would have said to him, how many years do you have to live here to care?
Yeah, exactly.
It's your station if you're a Spokane person.
It was my town the day I arrived. I
That's-
loved it.
Yeah.
I still love it.
That's why I'm
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
I moved here in '67 from New Jersey. I say it properly. And I never looked back. The only thing I miss from New Jersey is family and pizza.
Right. So there was a faction of people that were willing to intimidate those that were
Really?
standing up to, the phone call of somebody calling up and saying that to my father,
Yeah.
who in the F are you, is just, and clicking and not saying who you
Not
are.
having the guts to have a discussion.
It's just
No,
it's
no,
just wrong.
no discussion.
Yeah.
It is. It
So
is.
And I was an advertising agency guy, and I had clients, and I had to balance
Yeah.
my time with earning a living and trying to help with the stations.
Right.
And there was one client that was called by one of his friends saying, why do you have that guy doing your advertising? He's against Expo. And
Oh,
the response was, because he's the best in town, which I take as a compliment, even though it was a threat to
Yeah.
me dropped.
Yeah.
So there was some
But you
wokeism back then.
Never
No, I
came
wouldn't-
out about
that's
against
called-
Expo.
that's called.
No, I was
Yeah.
I was on the
You
Expo
wanted
committee.
your project to be a part, even a central part
The station
of Expo.
The station, if it got saved, would have been a beautiful park
Yeah.
setting, not in the jumble of industrial.
See, your
clutter.
failure to keep that never allowed me to see it now. So it's your fault.
Yeah, well, I was in favor of the Great Northern,
Yeah.
and what somebody did, and I can't remember who it was. They took a picture of the floor in the Great Northern Station after they ripped up the marble floor and left the dirt lines on the concrete, and it took a picture and ran a full-page ad saying, "Do you want to save this old thing?"
Oh.
Well, that's kind of dirty pool, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Union Station could have been a planetarium. It could have been
Yes.
a social services center. It was part of a convention center, the concept in the 69 plan.
Could have been restaurants. It could have been a
But-
farmer's market.
But here's how it changed my politics too. I thought politicians all want to do the same, but had different ways of getting there. But that didn't prove to be true with the logic.
Yeah.
Somebody, and I don't want to bring up names now. I better not, because I'll hear about it.
Yeah, you will.
Somebody got into the Union Station, piled up debris against the wood doors, everything else was marble and granite, and made a fire in a locked building. Was there investigation? No, there wasn't. Now, I see that as playing dirty.
Yeah.
All we were trying to do is make it more closer to the original Riverfront Park plan that 57% of the people favored.
Right.
So we got on the ballot with Margaret Leonard's help to get it, and we submitted it. And they put on $1.5 million levy for restoration of the stations if they were saved. Okay. Well, how much money was it going to cost them to tear down these buildings that should have gone to the restoration of these buildings?
Right.
I don't know the politics or the financing of these things, so I couldn't make much noise about it, but I thought it was kind of
Unfair.
unfair.
Yeah.
Let's go with unfair.
So, just overall, one of the reasons why my dad hasn't talked about this for probably, well, except for the last 15, 20 years since I started talking to him, like, he's seen his fight to do something he felt was right.
Yes.
And for the better of Spokane as a
Right.
big defeat. He felt, they did tear down the station, but the clock tower was the great concession. So while they lost the battle, there was enough interest and enough desire now to keep it that it was the city council that voted to keep the tower. Is that correct?
I say somewhere they changed their mind policy-wise to save the tower, and I looked down upon it on my negative days. I'd say, yeah, George Washington slept here, and to prove it, here's the chimney to his building.
Yeah.
Would have been the concept.
Oh, come
But-
on.
But it's turned into
What do we see pictures of all the time?
And that's
here
just the
and
point.
across
The
the
clock
country.
tower.
Jerry.
It's
the clock
fantastic.
tower.
It's becoming.
Okay.
I think every TV station's
Yes.
newscast has
Yes.
that clock tower
Yeah.
shown in it.
Every webcam in downtown for the TV stations have the clock tower. Okay. It needs to be Jerry's clock tower.
So let me tell you a story that I heard.
Let me do this.
Are you-
Let me take a quick break.
Okay, good idea.
Okay. And when we come back, we're going to hear another story.
another story.
Okay. After this.
The world has changed a lot in 50 years, and Kimley Haygood has changed with it. Whether it's financing, construction management, property management.
You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
Welcome to Tom Sawyer Country Coffee.
Tom Sawyer Country Coffee only roasts the finest organic coffee for our signature blends. Enjoy a cup at our coffee shop and local businesses and organizations across the region.
I'm Tom Sawyer and we choose the Pacific Northwest.
You're listening to the music of 68-year-old Spokane singer-songwriter Tim Brummel.
I was 10 years old when I wrote my first song.
Tim's new 5-song EP is available on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and many more sites.
They were dancing and smile.
Him and his music is a success story for Spokane, and we want Spokane to hear hometown boy Tim's music.
At the table, as if the sun.
Well, we have Jerry Quinn here, storyteller of SOS, Save Our Station, and the Clocktower, as we call it today. I don't think there's anyone that lives in the inland Northwest, and a lot of people who know where Spokane is. What do they see? What do they think about? The falls, of course, but the Clocktower. And you're the man that led the fight to save the Clocktower. First of all, on behalf of Spokane and our area, thank you. I did not know this story until you, Bonnie, started talking about it the other day. And I'm going, that's a piece of Expo that I don't know. And so tell me another story behind it.
Well, when we got done with the city manager issue, I went back and we started a campaign to alert the citizens of what was going on.
Right.
We tried to keep it on the National Register of Historic Places, but that was politically removed, which is illegal.
Wait, it was on the National Historical Register?
Both of them were, and they were taken off.
Both the buildings were, and they were taken off. Okay.
Wow.
But we went to Seattle. Here's a little trick they did. They told the people that went there that the meeting was pushed back till 2 o'clock. They decided at 10 to change it. So we weren't there to argue that point. So it missed that point.
So can you come up with a list so we can go slap some of those people? No, I'm kidding.
So there's a beautiful building.
Yes.
We tried to save it. What was the campaign like, Jerry?
Save Our Stations was an acronym for, SOS was the acronym for Save Our Stations. And I had the tower falling, of all things. That's the part that got saved after everything.
Yeah.
What do you mean by the tower falling?
Well, the graphic on the sign was showing the angle. The tower was on an angle.
Oh, right.
To show that it's being destroyed.
Yeah.
And that was the part that got saved. You can see by the
But that
picture.
is so Spokane. You know, that tower. Yeah, and I'm sorry I missed the station.
Yep.
In part of my life.
And you can
but
see,
the tower means so much.
You can see by the graphic, our ballot didn't need to save the one-story structures that were attached to it on both sides. So we just wanted to save the basic 3 stories so it wouldn't interfere with the couplet that was being started. So we were considerate of what we were asking.
Yeah.
And we had billboards. We had Ad Club sponsored it, by the way.
Yes.
I got them
Spokane Ad Club.
Yes.
Spokane Ad Club. We had billboards. We had lawn signs. And we made so much noise that
people had to pay attention.
Well, Burlington Northern paid attention. And I was told by an authority that it was getting back to St. Paul about what was going on with the effort to save it.
Okay.
And they saved Livingston, Missoula, Helena, Tacoma, and other stations were saved because now they know the desire of the retention of those stations are important to those towns and cities.
Yeah, absolutely. They represent the community and the interchange, if you will, with people across the country.
And reuse.
Yes.
And the whole point of the Expo 74 was recycle, reuse. And I thought, well, reusing a station or a building would be logical to fit the format.
Yeah.
Yeah, conservation right there.
Yeah, so we lost the station, but we saved the tower, Jerry. Thank you.
Yes.
And so that tower, even to this day, people have to go there, once a week to wind up the clock? Is
right.
that?
I think I said, I think the clock mechanism is like 8,000 pounds.
Wow.
I mean, my literature that I retained.
Yeah. But it's still the old working
the tower
mechanism.
I think.
Yeah. And these days, when we have Gonzaga basketball and some of the other fun things going around in our community, is splashed up on the tower.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's awesome.
It-
We
isn't it?
love
It
seeing
really
that.
is,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just so excited. My dad, he put everything he had into it. I remember
Yeah.
it just as a little kid, the yard signs and
Yeah.
doing the campaign, seeing him on TV talking about it. And it's unfortunate there were adversaries back
Yeah.
then, because I know that we have a greater appreciation.
you'd have a hard time finding people today against
Yes,
it.
yes.
know.
Certainly today we would keep the station.
Yes.
So my dad had the foresight to know this is something good we need to keep. And unfortunately we lost, and I don't understand the other side.
Yeah.
I know my dad is still a little bitter about
Yeah.
it.
Well, you had to
but-
work hard to keep this.
Sure, he worked
Okay?
very, very hard.
let me
but,
make
but let me just say
Good,
this.
yeah.
But it was because of him that
Yeah.
we have something today.
Yes.
And I think it's time
Yes.
that we do something to honor that. So I'm advocating with the mayor or the park board. I need to go talk to the park board. Let's get a plaque on there to
Yes.
say, hey, somebody stood up, somebody made some noise and said, let's keep this. And because of that, we have a clock tower.
Bonnie, I think I mentioned to you, we have done some shooting of our programs in the park and at that tower. Had I seen a plaque, this would have happened
Yes.
sooner. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know about it until
Yes.
in the last week?
Yep.
Last few days.
Yep.
Because I'm going, Jerry, I know, did that. No one has ever said anything.
And I think also it brings up a point that we need to listen to other voices.
Yeah.
We can't just be so bullheaded to think that my plan is the only plan, that we need to hear all the voices
How come
and
she's
be
looking
fair.
right at me when she says that?
Well, I mean, to all of us, it's a
Yeah.
good lesson to all of us
It
that we
is.
can't be so bullheaded
Yeah.
in what we think, that we have to be open because maybe somebody has a better idea. I believe my dad did have a better
Yes.
idea. History proves it, I think, today. But at that time, people were bullheaded and knocking it down. And
Yeah.
that's unfortunate, but at least we have the tower. So thanks, Dad.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Well, I have one, maybe a minor exception to what Bonnie just said. I didn't mind people that were objecting to it, the negative. I felt they had an opinion, and that's
Right.
what they had, and I had a different opinion. What bothered me most was people that had no opinion. The people that didn't care,
Good
didn't
point.
know, didn't. I think, how do you not have
and
an
not see
opinion?
the value.
Yeah, it
Or at
was-
least consider the
it
value.
bothered me some to
Yeah.
think, how could you not have something to think about?
You've taken this love for railroads and downtown and all of that to the extreme, and I mean that in a positive way, because out at the fairgrounds you had the equipment out there. You're now out toward Reardon, right?
They moved it to Reardon. Yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Are you still involved?
No, I dropped out for
Okay.
reasons.
So you've been involved in the
I was-
Inland Empire Historical Society,
Yeah, I
right,
was
Jerry?
president of the club at times.
But we got to
Um,
start saving
but I-
our history.
Yes.
I raised the money to move the 3206 steam engine to the fairgrounds.
Okay.
That big
I had
train.
I had the ownership from my hand from, I think, Trugd, and somebody from City Hall gave me the bill of sale to the steam engine. I had it in my hand for about 5 minutes. When they
So we
moved
had
it.
a steam engine going down Sprague Avenue. I remember that as a kid on trailers. It was an amazing thing that
Oh, wow.
he had up so that we could have this train down at the Spokane Fairgrounds.
Fairgrounds was a place where we could have it put without vandalism being a problem,
Yeah.
and the restoration of equipment. I think we put too much equipment in the fairgrounds and upset that we became a kind of a railroad yard, which they didn't like.
So Jerry, the last thing you're working on now is Evergreen, right?
I belong to a train club. I was president for 10 years, and I've recently dropped off from that presidency. But we have a problem.
We have a model railroad. Do you explain
Model
what it is
Railroad
first?
Train Club, HO scale. It's in the valley on this Appleway Road, and we're paying $600 a month rent today. In a year from now, the rent's going to go to $1,700 plus.
You better raise some money.
They need to find a new
Better
home.
find a new home
They
is
need to
the
find a new
goal.
home.
We're going to be looking for a place to move our layout to, a
But-
bigger and better place.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's-
somebody watching can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping somebody
Yeah.
has an insight to say,
It's-
I have a building, I
Yeah.
got
He needs an
access.
open space building. It's
Right.
an amazing layout. And I think they're working on putting a Quinn Tower in there, aren't they, Jerry? A clock tower?
I would hope so.
It's a very cool
They
thing.
better.
They
You should go
They
visit
just
it.
They
better.
will after today.
Okay, Jerry and Bonnie, thank you for this. Thank you for
Thank
what
you,
you
Ken.
did. Thank you for bringing the attention to it, because it's an important. I love history.
Yes.
I was not a history student. I was not a good student. Okay, well, let's not even go there. I love history. In fact, you'll see in my office some pictures of history.
Awesome.
Okay, and so it's so important. Let's go back and honor what's been happening in the past, and keep those treasures, because I remember taking our kids when we first came to Spokane in '76 and the years subsequent to the fairgrounds every year and seeing the equipment out there.
Yes.
And all of that, and they loved it. Okay, so thank you for your bringing that
I got it
to
there.
all of us.
Yeah, I
yeah.
did.
So thank you. Thanks for watching. If you want more information, call the Quinn Group.
No.
Call Bonnie Quinn, okay? Because we're going to make this happen, all right? Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good day.
To help you be safe, Washington state law requires you to call 811 2 full business days before you plan, for example, to dig, drill, plow, pull from, or pound anything into the ground. Be prepared to provide the operator with the correct address, cross street, and the description of your work. You must mark the dig area with white paint. The operator will inform you of the utilities notified of your impending excavation. Wait for all their marks. Be safe and dig with care.
Thanks for watching. Ask the host a question, recommend a guest, or check out any of our other programs on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com. Sponsored by Local 29 Firefighters Union, Well Dressed Walrus, and Homes for You.